I'm Anthony Wilroth. Welcome to Eyes on Como, where we put a spotlight on Columbia and Boone County local government and politics. This is part 2 of our video series on the saga of the 6370 homeless camp eviction. In part 1 of our series, we took a look at the background of homelessness in general here in Columbia, how hostilities have risen around the issues of homelessness in Columbia, looked at the conditions in a camp at 63 and 70, went into how the city totally misrepresented complaints that were forwarded to them from the Department of Natural Resources as if there had been a violation. Looked at how the media parroted that from the city without ever fact-checking it, and then went into a little bit of what the eviction itself looked like, and that's where we stopped. So today we're going to get into what happened after the eviction. The first thing is that Mike Murphy of CoMoBuz came out with an article. Now, what frequently happens is that Mike Murphy is working on a lot of the same things that I am, just coincidentally. If there's a story going on in town, I'm usually chasing after it, and he's chasing after it too. So he was putting in a lot of the same sunshine requests that Hold Como Accountable was, and he released a story that contained a lot of what we were working on. He beat us to the scoop a little bit. So let's take a look at that now. Mike Murphy's article from April 27th is titled, "There Was No DNR Complaint on Encampments." I'm not going to read the entire thing. You should check it out over on CoMoBuz.com. But here in the beginning of the article, Mike goes into the fact that nearly every television and radio outlet in the city said that there was a violation notice or a complaint from the DNR. Next, Mike Murphy goes over the same KRCG article that we covered in the first part of this video. And then he puts it very succinctly. None of this is true. Here is where Mike's article gets really interesting, because he was actually able to get a quote from Jacob Cross, director of the DNR's Northeast Regional Office. And it says, "The department has not issued any violation correspondence to Columbia, nor have we discussed any fines or penalties regarding this issue. Additionally, we have not confirmed the presence of toxins or other environmental impacts to area waterways." Next, Mike Murphy goes into how he started to realize a lot of the same things we did, that many of these complaints were simply automatically generated reports. And then Sidney Olson confirms to him that those automatically generated reports were in fact what was shared to the media and characterized as an official complaint. Mike ends the article with that same DNR director confirming that it's up to City of Columbia themselves to decide how they want to handle these issues and what the best way for enforcement is. You should go read the article in its entirety on CoMoBuz. So shortly after that CoMoBuz article came out and the general public became aware of the fact that the city had misled them on several things surrounding the eviction of this encampment, Hold Como Accountable heard from somebody that there had recently been a presentation given by Columbia's GIS department at a GIS conference. Now, this wasn't specifically about homelessness, but there was a slide in this presentation that supposedly contained the fact that there were 146 sites identified by the city's GIS department as potentially suitable for a sanctioned homeless encampment. So we put out a sunshine request for that, and it pulled back this image. So at this point, that's the only context we have, is that this image existed and that it purports to represent 146 different sites that could be suitable. So we released that into the general public. We're cruising towards a city council meeting, and CoMoBuz releases another article the day of the council meeting that says that DeCarlin Seawood himself was on the radio perpetuating the hoax, as Mike Murphy called it, around the DNR complaint. So we'll take a quick look at that article now. This one is May 1st, the day of the city council meeting, and is titled, "City Manager Spread DNR Citation Hoax." Again, read the entire article over on CoMoBuz, but the important thing here is that Mike Murphy happened to catch a quote from DeCarlin Seawood on radio station KFRU, and he immediately ran to the station and asked them to play it back so that he could make sure he got it right. And this was the quote. Carlin said, so the biggest reason that we had to clean up this camp was it just wasn't the complaints that we got from citizens. We got a lot of complaints, but we also received a notice from the DNR. And the notice from the DNR is that this is an issue that there's pollutant going into the streams. And if you don't do something, you will be cited, Seawood told the radio audience. So that sets the stage for the city council meeting that took place this past Monday, May 1st. Tensions were really high going into it because everybody felt they had been misled. We wanted answers from the city. Several people signed up to give public comment. Several people waited around until the end of the meeting to give public comment on this issue. So now we're going to spotlight a lot of that public comment. And then that's probably where we'll stop, because that's going to push this video into about 30, 40 minutes. And then in part 3, we'll get to how the city responds.
I'm Melissa McGowan, 3rd Ward, and I am here both as a citizen and as a member of the Como Mobile Aid Collective. 9 months ago, I stood at this podium to respond to the ban on camping at the Wabash bus station. I asked what alternatives were being considered and tried to explain the simple fact that moving a body does not make that body or the issues it represents go away. On Monday, the 24th of this month, campers were again evicted from public property. The volunteers helping with cleanup were provided a dumpster, a hand washing station, and a porta potty for their comfort and cleanliness. The same had been denied to the folks who camped there again and again, even though it would have helped alleviate the issues with hygiene that were used as an excuse to disband the camp. This population has been offered no alternative, which implies to me that my concerns of 9 months ago were either not heard or deemed unimportant. The coverage of these camps and campers by the press and the massive numbers of posts on social media have been harmful, dishonest, and shown a cruelty that I believe creates a dangerous environment. And when representatives of this city give the press a list of services available as an alternative, the public takes notice and believes that a solution is out there and that it's an easy one, that individuals are just being lazy or intentionally choosing a more difficult path. Unfortunately, those resources have been vastly misrepresented. Room at the Inn has not been open since April 1st. True North is a shelter for domestic violence and not for the unhoused. Love Inc. is an amazing resource for establishing housing, but they have no emergency beds. It's a process. Even Harbor House, which is a true shelter, is not currently an option because their beds are all full. And even when a bed is available, a lot of these folks can't meet the criteria to stay there. Or when they're having a crisis, it doesn't happen to fall between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. on a weekday. There are absolutely individuals who would love to take shelter, but it just doesn't exist. Giving bad information to the public, who are already filling their Facebook, Twitter, and Nextdoor feeds with hateful words and boasts about tearing down tents and stealing belongings, is creating the kind of hostility that actually frightens me. The city and its concerned citizens are encouraging behavior that is putting an already vulnerable population in real danger. Without the camp, these folks will have to seek another place to exist, which can lead to trespassing arrests, court dates, and warrants that only add to their burden. Being forced to seek shelter alone rather than with a group takes away the security that comes from a feeling of community, the ability to share resources, and the safety of a group dynamic. I would also like to add that organizations within the city and county, including our police force, are actively adding to the number of people on our streets. We encounter new faces all the time who share similar stories with us. They've come from some other part of the state to serve jail time or seek treatment at one of our health facilities. At the conclusion, these individuals are just sent away with no assistance at all. They're easy to spot by the handful of paperwork that they have nowhere to keep and the stricken look on their faces. I started my time here back in August by pointing out the plaque on the wall of the lobby of this building that says, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?" I am still waiting for a helpful answer to that question. Thank you.
Now ask
Chris Jones, First Ward. When I first signed up, I was so angry at the city, and I had planned to speak more broadly, but now I am sad, and I wish to still talk about the same topic, but focus on the events of this past week. Now, often from the dais, I have heard members on the dais right now ask for prayers, whether prayers for individuals or prayers for the community or the city or even yourself. And sometimes I'm not quite for sure whether you actually believe the words that you say, because you don't pay attention to the words of the text that you claim to believe. The next time that you do take that you are to vote, that you are to look at an ordinance or a resolution or something that involves our most vulnerable populations, if you do believe in the text, I wish for you to read Matthew 25, verses 40 through 45. On Monday, the Columbia Missourian wrote an article saying evictions displace encampment residents. And on Monday, no access was given to media or the workers trying to help the evicted residents. Unhoused people were arrested. Members of the local aid organizations were threatened. In fact, here we see Officer Dickinson. He was part of the problem. He threatened a aid worker who was trying to help our unhoused people who are being evicted, trying to help them. Now, we are up here because, according to many members on this dais, what happened was that the DNR filed a complaint and said that the city had violations, had pollutions into Hinkson Creek. And so members of Hold Como Accountable have tried sunshine requesting these for months. We've tried, multiple of us have tried, and each time we were denied. Mr. Seawood, your staff denied us. And there was a reason why they denied us, because there was no DNR complaint. We know this because of Mike Murphy, a writer for CoMoBuz, was able to get a quote from the DNR. According to Jacob Cross, director of DNR's Northeast Regional Office, the department was not issued any violation correspondence to Columbia, nor have we discussed any fines or penalties regarding this issue. Additionally, we have not confirmed the presence of toxins or other environmental impacts to area waterways. The unhoused weren't the ones polluting Hinkson Creek. Hinkson Creek has been polluted. It's been known to be polluted for over a decade. People have been complaining for over a decade that it has been polluted. People have been complaining about their dogs getting cancer. This is not our unhoused problem. The pollution existed long before our unhoused had their encampment there. The unhoused were just the city's scapegoat. Misinformation continues to be distributed to the public. The previous speaker spoke of many of these things, and I would just like to add that there is no affordable housing left in Columbia. You can do something about that. Spooner Meme is one of my favorite posts of accounts on Instagram, and normally I find them funny, but right now I'm just finding it sad because, Mr. Seawood, this is so true. Did you really? I mean, you could have stopped Sydney from spreading so much misinformation, and you chose not to. You could have stopped CPD from harassing unhoused community members. And Betsy, I just want to say shame if you were the one who called the police on them. Because people saw, and people posted this to Twitter, and they saw the unhoused member being frisked. They saw the unhoused member being stopped. They saw his dignity lost. We have other local politicians further trying to diminish the dignity of people in our community. And there was even vigilantes that decided to assault 2 members of the unhoused community. 2 were tased by vigilantes. 1 was injured. Be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. We deserve better. Thank you.
I'd like to please ask Jim Windsor to please come forward to speak.
So the second half of my thing tonight was titled that we're hiding behind future solutions to avoid helping vulnerable people now. The vulnerable people I'm talking about is the homeless community. It's great that we've got things in the work like the Opportunity Campus and stuff like that. But the fact is that there's nothing that's going to help people now. And every day, our homeless population is in danger, all right? By the time the Opportunity Campus opens, any of that sort of stuff, no better way to say it, that a lot of the people that we would love to say that it's going to help, they will be dead, straight up, between now and however many years from now that gets off the ground. And then you look at that whole mess that just happened where we cleared the camps without any real solution in place. Well, I happen to know that last week, Columbia's GIS department gave a presentation where they showed that the city manager's office had asked them to look for suitable sites for sanctioned camping for the unhoused, to consider things like drainage, at least 3 acres, that it can be mowed, and they said that they reported back to the city manager that there are 146 suitable sites for that. So my question is, why do we have this manufactured urgency to clear the unsanctioned camps while we have a process apparently working behind the scenes to try and find sanctioned camps? That just seems to be cruelty for cruelty's sake, or just covering yourself because people that you care about their opinions or criticizing the number of unhoused people that they have to see in a given day. Really what it seems to come down to is frustrating. We could have used some more patience on that issue and gotten some sanctioned camps and some alternatives into place before we ran with this whole idea that the DNR had issued a citation to us, which didn't happen. That started coming up, and the plan to clear the camps came up the day after somebody posted in a Facebook group drone footage of that exact camp. And that's the same day that the complaint got to DNR, and the complaint was forwarded from DNR to the city of Columbia, which is standard procedure for any complaint that comes into them. They pass it off to you guys because you guys is really where it should have gone to begin with. I say you guys meaning the city. You guys are kind of the face of the city. It's the city staff that would have handled it, but still, it wasn't DNR communicating to you guys because there was a violation. It was DNR communicating to you guys that someone had communicated to them, and the details matched up exactly with that Facebook post that had blown up. People were getting mad, and we took it out on the homeless people that were truly just trying to get by, and now they're all standing in the street on Clark Lane where someone's going to get hit by a car.
I now ask for Sheila Amin to please read.
Hey there, Catherine Armbrust, CoMoBuz Aid Collective, 2nd Ward. I am up here to represent our friends that were recently evicted from the eastern camps. They have seen this week's articles regarding the misinformation spread by the city and the media about the supposed DNR complaints. One camper has asked me to read something for her. They're livid. They're upset about the evictions and the now known misrepresentation of facts. Last Monday was absolutely devastating for everyone involved. For the campers, of course, for our team, we were the only outreach workers on site that day and did a lot of police and worker mediation. And even to the members of the media that were ejected from the area multiple times and directed by Sydney Olson to gather at an area far away from where the actual evictions were happening. It felt as though witnesses were not welcome at all on scene. I was there last Monday. I cried much of the day, watching the places our friends lived in destroyed, but tried to be strong for them. We hauled belongings, fed them lunch, provided hugs, etc. I've been working with folks in that area for over 2 years now, walking through the camps. Before being ejected by the police for my own safety was heartbreaking. I was there on Sunday talking to folks about what they planned to do, and then 18 hours later, they were gone. Machines, police, and volunteers invaded the peaceful woods and destroyed everything that people had built for themselves. So in our friend's words, she sent me this tonight. She texted me this and asked me to read it. People are upset about this. I really don't see how they can come in and put people out of the place they called home. I feel badly for all the encampments that were affected by this. I've been able to get an up-close view into this world, and it's a vastly different one. Each one of them works with and for one another, so to speak. Most get up with the sun and sometimes work on through the night as well. They are scrappers. They take junk to the junkyards, dump and recycling. Others take care of e-waste. Some get checks every month, and some have jobs that simply aren't able to afford rent, even with a roommate. It's discouraging to see the city have such a lack of compassion and humanity when it comes to this matter. To see how devastating it was not only to the plant and animal life, but to the people in that area as well. I honestly believe that what they call homelessness isn't what they see it as. One of the women told me once that others must be jealous because her cathedral ceiling and living room is bigger than theirs because she's outside. Off-grid living really isn't all that different than being homeless. You get up with the sun, you gather wood for cooking, you keep warm, wash clothes, dishes, and bodies. You cut wood into a more manageable size and you stack it. When you start fresh, you get to make a compost pile and build a garden. It sounds like I'm talking from experience, yes. Well, you'd be right in that. I'm the one you would call homeless and was recently in your paper. I'm the woman whose name is Tina. We were helping haul some of Tina's belongings away. They were on the side of 63. As soon as we left with her stuff, and we couldn't take all of it, and our witnesses left, she was practically bulldozed off the side of the highway. She felt attacked. I did not witness that because I was gone, but she came and found me and was panicking and having a meltdown because she felt like as soon as the witnesses left, she was attacked by the workers and the police. So maybe that's why they didn't want witnesses there, I don't know. But it was a really, really hard day, and we're still not over it, and neither are they. So I hope whatever's happening next is going to be something that makes sense and is a solution for these folks, okay? Please work on that. Thanks.
Thanks, Kit. Rebecca Shaw, 5th Ward.
I'm here with you tonight till almost midnight to talk about silence. Silence on lies told by the city staff about the DNR citations. Silence on displacing vulnerable citizens last Monday. Silence on the death of multiple Black men at the hands of our police in our city. Silence on police policy that allowed a rape victim to be ignored. Silence on water and lead testing. I can continue this list. Silence is complicity. Mayor, when our leaders in Jeff City started attacking our trans community, this city put out a beautiful statement and said, we support our trans members. When the leaders in Jeff City said, no more camping for unhoused members on state property, this city said nothing. It's a law, we gotta comply. Where is the compassion from the city for these folks? Maybe there is a map of areas in the city where there's land available. For over a year, we've been coming here and saying, find us a place where people can go. There are volunteers ready to pick up trash. There are volunteers ready to drive people where they need to go. There are volunteers waiting to do that work. We sat down at a table and we tried to work with Parks and Rec. We tried very hard. Transportation was the barrier. Nothing from the city to try to help that. I don't know how much longer people can come to you and say, do something. The crisis is now, and I know that in every one of your hearts, you know that and you see that. You see the people on the street corners. You see the people downtown that are sleeping in the corners in the businesses. You cannot go in this city anymore and not see these people. There are wonderful folks that have been working on this continually. and there's not an answer yet. I know it's hard. If it was easy, it would have been done. There's money available to us. It's not going to be right away. The Opportunity Campus is 2 years away. We are a city of very smart people. Surely we can figure something out. It has been an emotional roller coaster for me, and I cannot imagine for the people that were there on Monday to see those people's properties and lives destroyed. But if you continue to be complicit and continue to be silent, then the citizens have no trust in you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Anthony Welroth, downtown business owner. I'm going to go ahead and stick with this theme of the clearing of the homeless encampment and say that I truly don't believe that Columbia is ready for the level of escalation that occurred with that, nor are they fully aware of it. Trauma compounds. Every instance of trauma, people are going to respond worse and worse and worse than the previous ones. And that was a very traumatic incident, not just for the people in the camps, but also for the people that were there aiding the people in the camps and stuff like that. And that, there's cities like Minneapolis where these same issues have led to the point where they can hardly have a city council meeting without people yelling in each other's faces. Their council members and mayor can't go in public without getting into, in often cases, physical confrontations where it's been driven by both sides. Like it's a mess, and it all escalated, because that's what this was an escalation. Was the city manager, the city spokesperson saying, yes, we're going to send the police out there to be the face of violent enforcement against the unhoused. It radicalized a lot of people. It further radicalized a lot of people that were already fairly radicalized, and that's something that I do not think is really understood by the people making those decisions. And if it is understood and you don't think it's a big deal, well, all the problems, all the escalations that are going to occur for the next year or so, it's going to be, you can look at it as they said, that's all right. We're all right with that escalation. When people continue to come and get more and more mad at city council, it's the city manager's office, the city spokesperson that has put you all in that position and thrown you under the bus in a lot of ways. And I truly believe that is what is going to happen. The last thing I'll say is that something I frequently hear many people up here say is, it's just a popular thing to say, but they're like, we did such a good job during the pandemic. The way that we responded as a city staff during the pandemic, the way that Mayor Treese responded during the pandemic was awesome. Nobody missed a paycheck, this, that, and the other. That's because the pandemic was extraordinary circumstances that upended people's lives and made people feel that there was an emergency. So what did we do? We acted. We threw bureaucracy out the window. We said people need help now, and we helped them. Well, every single day is like that for the unhoused folks, all right? They don't need a pandemic to feel that they are in existential danger. And the fact that you guys aren't willing to throw bureaucracy out the window and get them help now, but you are everyone else, sends a message and people hear it.
Anyone else?
Hi. We've all been talking about affordable housing and unsheltered people. I'm going to start with a story. When my daughter left for college, my mom was sick and came up here and took care of her for a little while. But then after that, I had time. I have time. I only have to work 40 hours a week. I'm okay. And my issues that I care about are race and poverty. Those are the things. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. That's a big part of my life. So I started looking for ways to impact those issues. And I came upon housing. So I've spent about 10 years being on task forces and being on boards and commissions and coming to city council and paying attention to the god-awful UDC that I do not care all about. And things have only gotten worse. Literally the only thing the city does to improve affordable housing is to give developers fewer restrictions. That's it. There's other things we can do. We could have an affordable housing policy. We could have a definition of what affordable housing is so that people can't say that $350,000 is an affordable home. We can have inclusionary zoning. We could have any number of things We could improve the land trust and have a staff person that does that and make it their job to use some of these vacant lots in the first ward to build new housing. We haven't. We haven't done it for 10 years. And I'm exhausted. It's only gotten worse. There are more and more unsheltered people. People of color are being forced out of the first ward. There is no housing, and we are not evidently willing to do anything about it. Please have an affordable housing policy. Please have a definition of what affordable housing is. Please provide subsidized rentals. There's any number of things that can be done, and we keep refusing to do them. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Would anyone else from the public wish to speak?
Chris Jones, Second Ward. Going to continue on with the topic. As somebody who works in one of the cooling and heating community or places here in town, I would like to say that our unhoused community is suffering so much anxiety this week. So it all started with you guys clearing out the camps. And then all the stuff came about. Everybody finds out that you lied. You perpetuate the lie. You lie even more. You tell more lies to the media. The media doesn't correct themselves. So we've been having, at work, we've been having a lot more problems. There has been a lot more yelling, a lot more screaming. There has been a lot more meltdowns. And I'm not blaming the unhoused one bit. It is not their fault. They are suffering from so much right now, so much anxiety. I believe you were a retired counselor, mental health. You know what, good and well that people are suffering from mental health issues. Neurologists, you know the traumatic brain injuries that people have, you know, all these different things that are come down to it, and people are having issues, and we need to pay attention to this. And furthermore, I would like to make for sure that we are going to get down to the root of the cause of the lie. Who started the lie, who's perpetuating the lie, and why in the world the police are harassing our unhoused population, because it wasn't just Monday. Thank you.
Would anybody?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I own a business in the First Ward. So first off, I want to formally request that we look into a sanctioned camp in one of the 146 areas that were found by your GIS department that would be suitable. I would like to see multiple, maybe 5 to 10 across the city in different geographical locations. Maybe some closer to where some homeless folks work. I've noticed that a lot of our unsheltered folks organize themselves into little communities. They do that on their own. Give them a space to exist. Give them a space where they can express themselves, but in a safe, clean way. Give them restrooms, give them hand washing facilities, I'll help donate some tokens for the laundry machines. Like, let's just do this. Let's get working on this. A couple months ago, a lady came up here and asked for fuses to be brought back, and you guys did that. I'm asking for a solution for this problem, and I would love to see a sanctioned camp. We can do it, and we don't need to buy tiny houses or whatever. That's great. I do love that. But we don't need to do that right now. We just need a piece of land. We've tried this before, and neighbors stopped it. We can do it again. We just need a little bit of effort, a little bit of work, a little bit of outside the box thinking. You guys have the solutions. Let's do it.
There. Would anyone else from the public? Kat, you can't talk again if you've already spoken at public comment.
Are you sure I can't?
I'm pretty sure. I'm sorry.
Because I wanted to talk about how I'm worried about everybody that's sleeping downtown and has nowhere to be.
Okay, I'll pretend you said that earlier. Okay. Would anyone else from the public wish to speak? Okay, we'll go to council comments.
At this point, it should be pretty clear that there's a lot of people in the community that feel strongly about what happened with the homeless encampment eviction and that it could have been handled differently. If tensions were high going into the meeting, they're even higher now as we're pushing into the part of the meeting where city council and city staff gets to give comment themselves. So that's what we'll look at in part 3 of this video, which I should have out within the next day or two. In the meantime, keep your eyes on Como and on this channel for part 3.